Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first breakout session to talk about deploying and scaling e-commerce apps with Rackspace DevOps Automation. Please welcome Senior Director of Digital, Chris Bauserman.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're enjoying your day here in Solve, New York. And we've got a great opportunity here in the first breakout session to dig a little deeper into some of the topics that we talked about this morning. So first we're going to go and talk more about some of the challenges about building and scaling e-commerce applications that Michael Johnstone talked about with the Preparing for Your Shark Tank moment. And we'll introduce a new offering from Rackspace, Managed Cloud from Magento, which really helps to simplify and automate the process that Michael went through in terms of that playbook. We'll also dig a little bit deeper into the DevOps topic and really show you how we've used DevOps internally at Rackspace to help build and power this new offering. And finally, we have a live code demo from Caleb really showing you Managed Cloud from Magento and DevOps in action. So if you're interested in making money online, learning more about how to build and scale applications quickly, and seeing the adventure of a live code demo on stage, then this is definitely the session for you. So as Michael mentioned, Rackspace has partnered with the Mark Cuban companies in Shark Tank to really power over a dozen companies for their Shark Tank moment. And we count all of the different replays and follow-ups. That's dozens of opportunities for Rackspace to be in the trenches with Michael Johnstone, his team, and the Shark Tank companies to really get a sense of what it takes to build for those incredibly high peaks and spikes. But it's also not just about those overnight successes that Rackspace Digital has a lot of experience with in e-commerce. We're also proud to be the top hosting provider for the internet retailer top 100 sites and top 1,000 sites. So we have a tremendous amount of experience with small, medium, and large businesses in running their e-commerce. So we can't quite say we've seen everything in e-commerce, but pretty darn close to it. And a few of the big lessons that we've taken away, those experiences, are really looking first and foremost, going back to the Michael Johnstone playbook, that handling these ups and downs, these peaks and valleys, takes a huge amount of preparation and planning. And it's not easy, and it takes a lot of work across all the different teams and disciplines in your company. And again, this planning for this discipline is not just about your Shark Tank moment. Every business out there, whether you're a retailer, a B2B business, has seasonal peaks and valleys, but you also may have another unexpected surge or planned surge from a big promotional marketing campaign, a flash sale, or even just a social media storm that just happens to hit. So how do so having that game plan in place is hugely important. Michael talked also a lot about how availability and uptime is paramount. Right? If your site's down, you can't sell anything. But speed is the silent killer to revenue. And that's one of the other big things that we've learned working with tons of companies, is that if you're an e-commerce site, the business and e-commerce and retail is so cutthroat today that if it takes you more than 3 or 4 seconds to load a page, you're done. People are going to bounce, go to someone else's site. We add in mobile sites and networks and other devices, the things you can't control, it makes it even harder. The third piece is that it's oftentimes more cost effective for clients to rent both the infrastructure themselves, so going to cloud versus the servers, so Michael talked about having a rack of 50 servers doesn't cut it, but also renting the expertise. So you heard a number of speakers this morning talk about whether it be DevOps, the expertise around running applications for e-commerce like Magento, Hybris, or Oracle, or data services. These are things that are hard to find and very hard to scale as well. Now, doing all these things well and doing them repeatably when you've got sort of a static website, a sort of a target you lock down is hard enough. But what we're seeing now is that the bar is even getting higher, and now people who run e-commerce sites are having to hit a moving target with all these things in mind. So we're kind of seeing what we're calling the emergence of agile commerce. And so recently, Rackspace partnered with Internet Retailer, a major, as you'd expect, a firm about focusing on internet retailers and e-commerce, and we did a survey about how the 2014 holiday shopping season went, what worked, what didn't work. And one of the most interesting things we found in that survey was if you were a retailer and you had your website, your actual e-commerce site, updating its code, not just updating promotions and prices, but updating the code of the website frequently, multiple times a week, you were 20% more likely to meet or exceed your revenue targets than those who locked down their websites for the whole shopping season. Now, 20% is a big number, but in retail with very aggressive competitive, it's a huge advantage to have. Now, from the business perspective, you can see this is kind of obvious, right? If you see things, if you're meeting new trends, you're looking at the data and seeing what's working, what's not, making changes to your website and doing it dynamically should do better, right? But the technology piece of that is not common sense, right? So many of you probably either familiar with or still do get in the holiday season. You lock down your website. Those of you who know that you get the IT change freeze that, coming around in October, November. Don't touch it. So it's very easy to leave it alone. But because people don't want to break it, they don't want to risk the downtime. What we found is that the same cohort of companies that frequently change their websites also had better uptime and better reliability. So there's clearly a best practice here about people who are getting very good at automating and repeating the process of changing and maintaining these websites. And so it's really this new discipline, this new approach of agile commerce. So how do you do this? How do you actually get that done? Do you work 20-hour days and really do the always in the war room mode like Shark Tank? Or do you throw your hands up in the air and say, maybe we should go with a very turnkey, cookie cutter online shop, let somebody else do it as a very closed, narrow SaaS platform? Well, fortunately, there's a better way. So what we've done is we've just launched last week the Rackspace Managed Cloud for Magento. This really combines the best of both worlds, in terms of giving you the convenience of operation of a SaaS-like experience with the control and reliability of your own dedicated e-commerce platform. What we've done is we've taken Magento, which is one of the most popular e-commerce platforms, especially for small and mid-sized businesses. We've built a specialty platform as a service offering around it. We've wrapped it with our DevOps automation and the experts in our Rackspace Digital who know how to run an e-commerce site. What this allows you to do is still maintain your personalized experience. So you want to make sure that your online store reflects your brand, your personality, your best practices, just like no one's physical store wants to look the same, neither does your website. So you can have full control of customizing your Magento application all the way down to root access to the servers to tweak and tune that performance. But we help you accelerate your revenue by not requiring you to be an expert in how to tweak and tune all that stuff. So we have pre-built templates that are built for different business cases, what kind of store you have. We can spin them up, automate them, scale them with DevOps automation, and make sure that you don't even have to worry about all the best practices of running that and building it. We bake that in for you. And finally, we help you optimize the cost. So we talked a lot about renting out expertise of Rackspace and the economies of expertise that comes with our experts in digital that know e-commerce, that know Magento, the DevOps expertise. We also help you to really optimize the whole cost, whether it be spinning up and spinning down a full-sized pre-prod environment that looks like your production environment, so you can do real load testing without having to risk cutting corners because you don't want to build a full website. We can spin that up and spin that down. We also help you to optimize the license cost of all the middleware of the applications themselves. So really help you put the whole piece together to get the performance, the customization, but also manage that cost. Now, so let's talk a little bit about more what this provides you as someone who's running an e-commerce site. So the first thing I mentioned is a turnkey solution. So you really can go to Rackspace and literally in a matter of hours, say, deploy this Magento Enterprise Edition with this configuration for the type of volume that I have, the SKUs in my catalog. Do I want it redundant or not? Just spin that up and have that automatically ready to go. When it comes to scaling, think of it like pant sizes, right? So we've got 4 flavors of Managed Cloud for Magento, kind of a small, medium, large, extra large. And just like if you go to Thanksgiving and you want one of those elastic pants to just sort of expand a little bit as you eat the turkey dinner, the next day on Black Friday, your Managed Cloud for Magento environment will auto scale out to meet that surge of traffic coming from those holiday shoppers. So you kind of pick a best fit base size, and then we'll automatically scale out for you. Again, having that full control of managing your store, your Magento environment, so it's that SaaS benefits that we take care of the operations, but you can still configure it the way you want. But also, we're actively including application level monitoring and alerts. And again, the application monitoring is both staffed by and built by experts who know Magento, so they know all the ins and outs of all the pieces to get your e-commerce site running. And then we apply expertise, so if we see something, performance going down in the server, we can kick that out, build up a new one automatically through DevOps, or scale out to more servers if we see you getting a surge in traffic you didn't expect. And of course, security and compliance, a huge deal for anyone in retail these days. We help you proactively protect against not just data security and bad guy issues, but also provide you with a robust denial of service prevention, because obviously security and denial of service attacks are another way you can take your site down, shoppers can't get to you, you're losing revenue. So again, how we do this is combining our expertise with Rackspace Digital, all the folks that we have who live, breathe, and die by running e-commerce applications and optimizing those platforms, with the DevOps team. You see here an example of some of the steps that are required to spin up a new pre-prod environment for Magento. Right, this is a very time-intensive piece of work, and it's, we've done this hundreds and thousands of times, so we've built in encoded automation to do this for you, so you can not only do this very fast, but also extremely reliably, right? Taking a lot of the error out of configuration issues, missteps or missing pieces. And if you need to add extra environment or need to fix something that's broken, it's very, very easy to do. Again, we also partner with leading providers like New Relic to monitor the application for you, and Capsula to provide security as well as to help accelerate the mobile experience. Of course, mobile commerce being a very, very important thing, but also that can really drain your performance if you don't take care of it. And of course, powering it by DevOps, a team that really pulls it all together. So now let's talk a little bit about how the DevOps team at Rackspace always helped build this managed cloud into a product internally for us and do so very fast, but how they continue to help you operate and optimize your e-commerce site once you've launched it and put it into production. So the first piece that we do for you is really help automate and define the configuration management. As I mentioned earlier, that it's a very complicated set of moving parts that each need to be tuned the correct way and connected properly together. So what we've done is we've actually defined the entire production environment and pre-prod environment, if you choose to scale that up, in code. So we've built it, we've tested it, we've done it again and again, and we'll use tools like Chef and GitHub to pull this all together so that when you want to spin up a new environment, we pull it out of code, put it up there, spin it up in a matter of minutes and hours, but also we can ensure that the configuration matches your desired state. So obviously one of the big challenges in errors and downtime a lot of times is misconfigurations, right? So this is a huge part, not only getting the speed to get your initial deployment, but keeping your deployment accurate. And then again, if something is going wrong, you need to kill a server and spin something else up, we know we can immediately put that up in production in the right way. Of course, the other piece is that application monitoring. So now your site's up and running, you're scaled up, you're adding new servers. How do you know when it's time to add more? How do you know when something is degrading performance and take action on it? We use New Relic, and we tie that into our team to get 24/7 monitoring and alerts. And again, for Managed Cloud for Magento, we've been instrumented this from the application layer all the way down, and we know if there's a certain piece of the environment hitting thresholds that could really spell trouble for conducting purchases. If we know if the database are in a threshold, but we know what thresholds are beyond that point of no return, we're going to take action on it. So it's monitored by experts in Magento, so you're not just getting application monitoring or infrastructure monitoring, you're getting that full stack monitoring and the expertise to do something about it. And that do something about it is where we come to the automated workflows. So one of the biggest things, especially in e-commerce, is being able to scale up and scale down based on demand. And so we can take that feedback from our application monitoring, as well as any inputs that we know about any planned campaigns or promotions that we see in your traffic. We can automatically scale that in real time and proactively to make sure that you're always, again, not just staying up and available, but that your performance is also hitting the mark. Finally, we can go through and also make sure that we can get the continuous integration deployment to make sure we pull that all together. So as you're doing that agile commerce piece, updating your storefront, your experience in real time, we can help you to speed that deployment up, do your testing, move that code into production, and be good to go. And then finally, one of the things that the support team is really a little bit surprised when they first launched the DevOps service was how customers love to interact with us via chat. So we use Slack as both a way to work with customers. I think you heard the speakers this morning talk about being up at 2 a.m., joking around on Slack, and and not only getting things done, but having a real conversation with the rackers. Well, we use this to help you get support in real time. So with a Shark Tank kind of company, we can really understand what's going on in the traffic, but also use this to actually implement change. So as you probably all imagined here, that hooking all this together is hard, right? A lot of moving pieces, a lot of expertise, a lot of different expertise. So fortunately, we've got Rackspace loves hard problems, and here to show you how we actually put this in action, we welcome to the stage Caleb Groom for our live demo. Caleb.
Hi, thank you for being here. My name is Caleb Groom. I work on product and engineering for Rackspace, focus on DevOps problems. I want to do a bit of a demo and go over some of the nerdy bits that Chris was talking about previously. When we're done, hopefully we'll wrap up soon enough for Q&A. Would love to answer any questions you have in the time that we have, or outside in the Solution Pavilion as well. So for Managed Cloud for Magento, we launched with 4 distinct implementations of that. The conversations that we're having with customers who are wanting to deploy Magento are, 1, what's the performance required? And 2, this is what the cost is in order to meet that performance. We're not having conversations around how many servers would you like to build? What size of the database? Should the configuration be like X or like Y? Instead, we are saying, we have done this over and over again. We've proven it in the market. So let's talk in the terms that you are interested in. Again, this just launched last week at the Magento conference in Vegas. I want to walk you through what our reference architecture is for Magento. So you zoom in so you can see a little bit better. We are using a Rackspace cloud load balancer that's balancing traffic to 2 distinct types of Magento services. First is the admin service. The admin is responsible for running scheduled jobs, like cron jobs. And the second service would be the Magento worker service. And that is the service that continues to scale out, where the admin service only ever has 1 node. Data for those application servers are being mounted up from an NFS server, and logs on all those servers are being shipped to the Elk Stack service, Kibana and Elasticsearch for log aggregation. There are 2 very distinct ways that data is backing up this reference architecture. First, this is using the Magento Enterprise Edition, which has full support for Redis caching. So object cache, session cache, and full page cache are all going to Redis. The reference architecture that we're showing here today is actually using the Rackspace Cloud Redis product. And for the traditional SQL store, we're using the Rackspace Cloud load balancers. Rackspace Cloud databases with the included replica set. So this is all these pieces for the data components are all Rackspace hosted services. So you are not responsible for keeping them online. Our Rackspace operations teams do instead. This is the application designer that the Rackspace DevOps automation team uses. We really like using this designer because it has a catalog of all of the things that our team will support and can make sense of what components are allowed to connect to other components. So for example, if I were to try to wire up an ASP.NET service to the Magento store, it washes out a little bit on the video here in the room, but that box turns red because we know that is not a service configuration that the DevOps automation team could fanatically support. When we go to deploy this, I'm actually going to take a shortcut. I'm going to take a shortcut. As we go to deploy this, we need to gather a bunch of information and provide it as inputs. Things like what are the credentials that you would like us to pre-configure, both for logging, both for the Magento application service. What are the different sizes of the different components, and then various things about the Magento store as well. Again, I'm just going to short circuit that and launch it from the command line because that makes for a better technical presentation. And there we go. So we found out that the process to get that reference architecture to you on your account, on resources that you pay for individually, is a 54-step process. One of those steps would be go configure all the software needed, go configure the base operating system, go configure Magento exactly as the reference architecture says. That's all in one step. Right? So this is the process of provisioning all the required infrastructure, waiting, and then tying it all together again for each one of those components. I will pull the pre-baked turkey out of the oven, and this is what it looks like when it's done, obviously. Chris showed you the screenshot as well. One of those steps in provisioning the reference architecture is to go straight to New Relic and to provision a New Relic account on your behalf if you do not currently have one. And that is actually a New Relic account that the DevOps automation support team shares with you. So you have full access to log into New Relic control panel, and as well your Rackspace support team has full access to it as well. So no needing to copy and paste graphs back and forth. We have full access to that account. Again, part of our process is to automatically configure New Relic to report on this new Magento service. Another great benefit for the New Relic piece is that we auto-configure any alarm that New Relic wants to send to go to your Rackspace support team. New Relic supports many ways for notification if you like to get an SMS or you'd like to get an email if there's some sort of service problem. And so you can continue to do that, but we go and also get it as well so that it comes to us. We would prefer that you continue to sleep at 3 a.m. and let your Rackspace support team take care of that problem. So that's our reference architecture. We are tied into New Relic. I want to switch over quickly and talk about ChatOps and the things that we're doing with workflows. If the word ChatOps, if that term is relatively new to you, I would beg you to go to YouTube and search for GitHub ChatOps. There was a talk that the GitHub team did at the Velocity conference probably 18 months or 2 years ago or so now. And they talked about their experience as a completely distributed company and having problems wondering who pushed code recently. Has anyone made changes to production? Is staging in a good state? Can I go make my changes there, or will your 4 changes also be there? There's got to be some way that we bring everyone together, and that's both a people problem and a technical problem. And the ChatOps concept was coined by them, and they're using HipChat. Our team has taken quite a liking to Slack over the last 12 months or so. Our team really doesn't do email any longer. Now most of our communication goes straight to a topic-based chat system. However, the concept of ChatOps isn't about chat, because chat's been around forever. What makes it new is that we are saying, instead of having a wiki article, an internal wiki article that describes this is how you make changes to our environment, or if this happens, here is the process. Instead, what we're saying is, like what everyone has been saying for forever, right, is we should automate that. And the concept of ChatOps is to say, we're going to automate that, only kick it off inside of a chat room that everyone has access to. So if there's any questions around, who did what when, just go into the chat room, because there's a full dialogue of who made changes. And we have implemented that some of that for our Managed Cloud for Magento customers. So Ryan, can you, if you don't mind driving, we've wired up a bot here. And sorry for the little bit of latency as we go over the Wi-Fi. Plus I'm VPN'd back home. But we were saying, which applications have we deployed? We say, okay, we've got this one here, and it's a Magento application. Great. So now that I know that those are the ones that are out there, show me the specifics of one of those specific deployments. And so as I scroll back through, we can see that deployment has Magento worker nodes, and it has database instances, and it has load balancers, and there are caching objects. Okay, great. So I know which applications I've deployed. I can get more details about each of those, but I can also scale them up. So we can also support expanding this deployment by issuing an add node command. And again, so this process is very similar to the 59-step process that we showed in the beginning, but it's pared down just a little bit, right? So the process is go procure additional virtual machines, go configure them with Chef, go through the full Chef workflow, get them. Finally, after everything is tested and ready to go, now put them back into the load balancer. Right, so Ryan has issued the command to add 2 additional nodes, and then now we have 2 nodes that are building in progress. So that's one example, both of using a workflow that's very, very repeatable. If Ryan would have made a typo, it would have showed up on stage and he would have had a chance to do it again, which is much better than needing to call Ryan and say, you've got that script that no one else has. Can you please run that? And having to assume that it went just the way you liked. So the way we're actually implementing this is we are using an open source project called Stackstorm, stackstorm.com. They are a company that has taken the OpenStack Mistral project plus some of their own workflow items and made a very, very simple way for you to execute, basically if this then that, and you can do it if full on, very complicated application code, or as simple as just using a YAML file, which is how we've done all these workflows that we'll show today. There's another workflow though that I kind of want to pull out and show you. And this is tied to how we are pushing, how some of our customers are pushing code into production. There are many steps in this process as it pings back and forth. So I'll pull the pre-baked turkey out of the oven, and we'll step through these individual changes together. So the first thing that he asks is, what is the status of the code? Please compare my code repository versus my production environment. And it comes back and says, yes, here is the specific code commit that's in production, and there have been 2 changes to it since you last pushed. He then goes independently outside of chat and pushes another code change back to the code repo and asks the status again, and sure enough, now it is 3. And finally, he says, okay, great, let's take that code and let's push it out into this production environment. And Flo, who is the specific bot that we're using today, goes. And so the process is great. Their production is currently tagged to this specific git commit. Let's remove that tag. Let's recreate the tag back at the current head on master. And then let's go through the Chef workflow to push all of those, to make sure that all of our nodes now are loaded with the latest code. Now there are hundreds, probably by now, different ways to push code into production. This is one of those hundreds. But again, break it down to the final. There you go. Again, this is an example of this code workflow may work great for your specific situation, or you may need one that's more complicated. You may need something that says, let's go do a rolling update where we iterate over every single host. We remove it from the load balancer, we push code, and then we add it back to the load balancer, rinse, repeat until we're done. It may be go procure an entirely new environment. After testing is complete, change the databases from the old production environment over to the new production environment. Again, there are hundreds of ways to push code to production, and using custom workflows powered by Stackstorm and kicked off and monitored inside of a chat ops platform is a very, very powerful thing as you try to really embrace the human problem that is DevOps. So those are the things that we wanted to run through as a part of our managed cloud for Magento product offer. How are we doing on time? We have time for Q&A. No, we do not have time for Q&A. Great. Okay, so here's what we'll do. There's an amazing breakout session coming afterwards I have very high hopes for. So we're going to catch that, and after that we'll be out in the Solutions Pavilion. And again, would love to get into the nerdy bits of, if you have any questions on how this works. Thank you.
Thank you, Caleb. And for more information on digital solutions from Rackspace, you can visit the Solutions Pavilion right outside or call a Rackspace specialist at the number here. Coming up in just 5 minutes, we will start the second breakout session, a primer on scaling NoSQL technologies with an emphasis on MongoDB. Actually, that's the 4:35 session. The next session coming up at just a few minutes from now, just 5 minutes from now, will be Joseph Palumbo and Matt Shover, security and scalability in the hybrid cloud, how to get one without losing the other, coming up next in about 5 minutes in this breakout session room.